Hi students, welcome back to Biology online classes. Our today's topic is transport in animals. In this chapter, we are going to deal with the transport system in animals and the three main components of it: heart, blood and blood vessels. Let us start with the heart. Now let us see what is meant by transport system. Transport system is the system in which the materials are getting transported through the body of an organism. As we already studied in plants, here the materials are getting transported through an animal's body. We are learning human transport system as an example. Here, the transport system is also known as circulatory system or cardiovascular system. The three main components are heart, blood and blood vessels. Let us see the introduction. The cardiovascular system is the transport system of body. It comprises the three components: blood, heart and blood vessels. So what is the importance? The system supplies nutrients to and remove waste products from the various tissues of the body. So what is the medium of this transport? It is the liquid known as blood. So blood is carried away through the tubes called blood vessels. See, what is the left and right side of the body? Left side of the heart is completely filled with oxygenated blood and right side of the heart is completely filled with deoxygenated blood. In the textbook and in other diagrams, you can see the oxygenated blood will be represented by light pink shade or red color, and the deoxygenated blood will be represented by blue shade or light purple shade. So, what is meant by this oxygenated and deoxygenated blood? Oxygenated blood is the blood in which the oxygen molecules are there. Then what is meant by deoxygenated blood? Deoxygenated blood is the blood from which the oxygen molecules are removed and their carbon dioxide is filled. As you know, carbon dioxide is a waste material or waste gas. So deoxygenated blood is the waste blood which comes back to the heart to get purified. Now, what are the materials get transported through the body? Oxygen, carbon dioxide, digested food molecule, waste products, hormones, heat and other chemicals are getting transported through our circulatory system. So, see the external structure of human heart. You can see there are various blood vessels on and inside to the heart. See the cross section of human heart. We'll come back to this. So, heart is a four-chambered hollow muscular organ approximately the size of your fist. So, where is the location of this heart? Superior surface of the diaphragm. You know the position of the diaphragm in our body. Then, left to the midline, anterior to the vertebral column and posterior to the sternum. Have a close look. So, the lungs and heart are well enclosed inside the rib cage. So, well protected by the rib cage. Now you can see what are the four chambers of human heart. As you can see, it is having two upper chambers here, 1 and 2, and two lower chambers, 1 and 2. So upper chambers are known as atrium, left atrium and right atrium. The lower chambers are known as left ventricle and right ventricles. So together atria, left and right atrium, together known as atria, and left and right ventricles together known as ventricles. You can see left side is having red color blood. And between the left and right side of the heart, there is a thick muscular wall which separates the left and right side. This thick muscular wall is known as septum. So the main function of the septum is to prevent the flow of blood between left and right side, or it separates the left and right sides of the heart. So the position of the lungs comes here, superior to the heart. From the lungs, the oxygenated blood is coming to the left atrium. This chamber receives the oxygenated blood. And for that one, there is a blood vessel known as pulmonary vein. It is not marked here, but pulmonary vein. So pulmonary vein brings the oxygenated blood to the heart, and when this chamber is filled, it moves the blood, or it allows the blood to flow to the down chamber called left ventricle. You can see how the valves are opening to allow the blood flow. So these two valves are known as bicuspid valve. So from here, when this chamber is getting filled, this bicuspid valve closes and it prevents the backflow of blood to the left atrium. From the left ventricle, the blood goes to another blood vessel known as aorta. Aorta is the biggest blood vessel which carries oxygenated blood in our body. It has many branches to various parts of the body. And this aorta is branching into arteries. Arteries are again branching to capillaries. About that we will study later. So aorta carries oxygenated blood to all over the body. So now come back to the heart structure. You can see the right side of the heart is colored in blue. You can see right atrium and right ventricle here. And in between the right atrium and right ventricle, there is another valve called tricuspid valve. So left side contains bicuspid valve and right side contains tricuspid valve. So from the body, the deoxygenated blood comes back to the heart through the vena cava, and the right atrium receives this deoxygenated blood. There are two vena cava, superior and inferior. Because of their position, the names are having superior and inferior. So superior vena cava is the vena cava which brings the blood from the upper part of the body, and the inferior vena cava is the blood vessel or the vena cava which brings the blood from deoxygenated blood from the rest of the body parts. So right atrium receives deoxygenated blood. When the right atrium is filled with blood, it moves down to right ventricle, and for that one tricuspid valve opens. When the right ventricle is filled with blood, tricuspid valve closes and it prevents the backflow of blood to right atrium. And from the right ventricle, where does the blood go? It goes to the lungs. And for that one, there is a blood vessel which is connected to the right ventricle, that is known as pulmonary artery. You can see that also represented by blue shade. So pulmonary artery carries this deoxygenated blood to the lungs. So inside the lungs, this get filled with oxygen molecule. That means this deoxygenated blood becomes oxygenated. And from there, the pulmonary vein carries again this blood to the left atrium. So it will be flowing from the left atrium to left ventricle, through aorta to all over the body, from the body through vena cava to right atrium to right ventricle, to the lungs again for deoxygenated or getting deoxygenated. So this is the flow of blood in our heart. So what are the valves present in the heart? So already I told, there is a valve present in between the left atrium and left ventricle. That valve is known as bicuspid valve. Main function is the prevention of backflow of blood from the left ventricle to left atrium. Next, in the right side, the tricuspid valve. It is in between the right atrium and right ventricle. It also prevents the backflow of blood from the right ventricle to right atrium. And you can see two other valves. At the bottom of the aorta is this one, this red big blood vessels. At the bottom of this aorta, you can see aortic semilunar valve or semilunar valves. It is in the shape of half moon. That's why it is known as semilunar valves. And at the bottom of the pulmonary artery, which carries blood from the heart to the lungs, another blood vessel known as pulmonary artery. And at the bottom of this, there is another valve we can see, that is pulmonary semilunar valve. So the main function of these two valves are the prevention of blood from the aorta to the left atrium and the prevention of the blood from the pulmonary artery to right ventricle. So here is a mistake. The aortic semilunar valves prevents the backflow of blood from aorta to left ventricle, and pulmonary semilunar valves prevents the blood flow or backflow of blood from the pulmonary artery to the right ventricle. So what is the connection of lungs with the heart or the circulatory system? The blood is getting oxygenated from the lungs. Oxygen molecules get diffused into the blood from the alveoli in the lungs. So you know what is meant by alveoli. Alveoli are the tiny air sacs which helps in the gas exchange. Left atrium receives oxygenated from the lungs. Pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. Pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs from the heart. So, when we saw the structure of the heart, I said about the four chambers: left atrium, left ventricle, right atrium and right ventricle. Among these four, this chamber, that means left ventricle, is having thick muscular walls than the other three. What is the reason of this? Because left ventricle pumps more blood, more oxygenated blood with high pressure to the whole body or to a long distance. So because of this, or for that strong contraction, the walls of the left ventricle must be very thick than the other chambers. When compared to the left and right sides, you can see left side is having much more thick walls than the right side. Why? Because left side carries oxygenated blood. It needs to pump the blood to all the body. And right side, you can see thin walls are there, thin muscular walls. It is because the presence of the deoxygenated blood in it. Deoxygenated blood is flowing in less pressure. So no need to apply more pressure to pump this blood. So here is the end of the topic, heart. Our next topics are blood and blood vessels, that we will continue in the next video. Thank you.